Hi, this is Pat Moorhead with More Insights and Strategy, and I am back with another Insider video cast. And today I am joined by David Trice, Honeywell Forge Chief Product Officer and General Manager of Connected Buildings. David, how are you?
Hey, Pat, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been doing the analyst gig for almost a decade, and as we joked earlier, I used to have a real job for over 20 years, and it is amazing how much attention Honeywell is getting in the high tech space. It's a very industrialized company, but it's adding a bunch of new, very high-tech capabilities. But before we jump into that, if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about what you do at Honeywell, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, you bet. So I'm in the Honeywell Connected Enterprise, first and foremost, and that is the software business for Honeywell. Created a little over 2 years ago. I was a part of the founding team with Q Dillard to build this business. I started as the general manager of Connected Buildings, and that's really kind of the genesis of Honeywell Forge. We built solutions from the ground up to really address some of the core problems that we saw in that business, and we can spend more time on the capabilities therein. But as we did that over the course of the couple of years that it took to get to where we are, we started to get to a point where the infrastructure, the core cloud services and the edge infrastructure, we wanted to use that in different parts of the business. And as that became obvious and it became ready, I was handed the moniker of Chief Product Officer as well to help provide guidance to the rest of the businesses on how to do that and how to uptake those capabilities and continue to build the solutions out going forward.
I love it. In a previous life, I was a product person, so I might be a little bit biased, but it's a great job for sure. One thing that I was really struck at when you took me through your strategy, what was your vision? And listen, I know vision is part of it, and in something like this that's so future forward, I believe you really have to articulate your vision well. And I was struck by this notion of running your building from the comfort of a coffee shop. Can you talk a little bit about the vision?
Yeah, Pat, it's an important point, a mental image that we had to create. It serves a number of different purposes, but in terms of what it is, it's a vision that gives you kind of an opportunity to really challenge conventional wisdom. Conventional wisdom today is an individual goes into a building, sits behind a dashboard of screens, and sits there and waits for something to happen, right? And that's for one building. And when you're a Honeywell and you've got 900 buildings, you've got at least 900 people doing that. And so the idea is that in the face of conventional wisdom, I need to do more with less. Our customers are asking us how to do more with less. I can't continue down the path of the expense necessary to run these buildings, so give me a better way. Well, if you go to the other end of the spectrum and say there is a better way, you don't actually have to be in the building. In fact, you don't even need to be in the same city. In fact, you can be in your coffee shop running your buildings from a centralized location. That mental image is one that we've rallied all of Honeywell around for this kind of idea. What does that mental image look like? Let's buy into it, and then let's start to pave the path of things we need to do to achieve it.
Yeah, the other thing I was really struck in our briefing was that the explanation that this is not IoT.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you talk about it? Well, what do you mean? Like, I'm thinking, wait a second, I've got all these sensors. Of course, it's IoT.
Yeah. Well, it's a really important part of enterprise performance management, which is what we're really after. IoT is an enabler, but it's really the discussion is really for us about digital transformation. How can I run my facilities better? How can I create a more lean operation? How can I deliver OpEx improvement back to the business in doing so? It's not an IoT problem, but IoT needs to exist in order to enable the solutions that we're trying to bring to bear.
Yeah, very few boards of directors are sitting around saying, "Hey, where is my IoT project? No, it's, hey, I want my oil refinery to be 35% more efficient. And, we're sending people out to every square foot of pipeline to manually inspect what's going on. That could be done with maybe a sensor, with something like predictive maintenance. So you threw out a term that not everybody might be aware of. It's EPM, Enterprise Performance Management. Can you talk about maybe the big aha that said, okay, Honeywell Forge is an EPM, could be an industry leading EPM?
Well, it's a outside of the industrial world, it's not a foreign idea in any way, shape, or form. A lot of what's been discussed around IoT and assets and things of that nature have been always focused on a given plant or a given warehouse or a given building and a given asset in each of those facilities. And how can I understand the rotational performance of an asset so that when it degrades, somebody lets me know, right? Well, that's an important thing to understand, and IoT helps us understand that. But when you start to think about how an executive is impacted by that, well, he doesn't really care about the rotational aspect of an asset. What he cares about is its impact on his financial performance, right? Well, that thought process is the starting point for enterprise performance management. At the end of the day, an individual, the executive for an organization, has thousands of those assets all over the world, most likely, for certainly large enterprises. And what he wants to understand is how is it improving? How is managing that asset improving the throughput of a plant? And how are my plants performing comparatively, one versus the next? That's enterprise performance management. It's taking these ideas and these concepts that are driven by asset performance or sustainability or energy optimization and aggregating it up to an enterprise view so I can run my operation better as a whole. We started to realize that for the domains that we care about, which are buildings, manufacturing, and supply chain, there's a lot of commonality, a lot of overlap between the need that executives have to run their operation. And we have built a common set of capability that applies across all those domains. And that capability is what we refer to as enterprise performance management.
Yeah, I know I didn't tell you I was going to flash some of your slides up here, but surprise.
Yeah.
No, but I think I think it's an interesting. As a analyst firm, we were covering quote unquote IoT 9 years ago, right? And we did one of the first segmentations between the human IoT and the industrial IoT, and it is really awesome how you've taken this to the next level, which is truly getting business value out of all of this. You're on the record / not on the record citing Tesla as something investors should think about when assessing the Forge value proposition. Can you walk me through the thinking there? And what does it stem from, and what are the aspects that are common?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of points of reference here, Pat, that are really kind of instructive. First and foremost, when Elon Musk went out and decided that he was going to build this new car, he didn't take the chassis that was standard for a GM. He started from scratch. Yeah. He realized that I've got to have a purpose-built design and architecture in order to really change the game in the automotive space. And so he started from the ground up. There's the first analogy. We realized with Honeywell Forge that we couldn't really bolt on to investments that we had made in the past because they were architected the wrong way. The things that we want to do around building extensibility into the platform from the ground up, building autonomous control into the platform from the ground up, is not something you can kind of add on to existing investments. And so we started, much like Elon did, from the ground up, thinking, what problem are we trying to solve? So that's kind of point number one.
Yeah.
Point number two is really about the intelligence of the vehicle, right? The intelligence of a Tesla is is driven by the analogy where, in the reality, where you buy a Tesla on day one, you drive it for 6 months. Over the period of 6 months, you get 2 or 3 updates where the car actually becomes better than the day that you bought it. That's the second analogy. We want our buildings, our warehouses, our manufacturing facilities to learn and improve and get better day over day, much like a Tesla is doing. But there's also a third point there that is sometimes lost because we're delivering that capability via a SaaS solution. Now, you think about our customers on a global scale. How do we ensure that the updates that Tesla pushes out to his cars are making sure that our updates for Forge are getting pushed out to our corresponding cars, our plants, our facilities, and so forth in a similar kind of basis? Well, we've got a global SaaS architecture that ensures our customers are never out of date. So we're able to give them the latest in those learnings, in those advancements, so that their facilities can become more intelligent as those advancements become available. So those are 3 points of reference that I think Tesla really becomes an important analog for the things that we're doing.
Yeah, and I think those are good examples, and they're not gratuitous. Now you just need to get Honeywell to the $580 billion valuation. You can call it a day.
Yeah, exactly.
So part of this, part of Forge, you have built organically, but you've also done some acquisitions. One of the one that comes to mind is Sine, and I hope I'm saying that correctly, from Australia.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the acquisitions you did and how they fit into the overall strategy of Forge as an EPM?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, Pat. And Sine is our most recent acquisition. I'd love to spend a minute and share the thinking here. So Sine serves a couple of different purposes. Specifically in the building space, we have the need to deliver occupant experience capabilities. This is, how do we deliver to an employee or a worker the ability to engage with a building or a facility in frictionless ways, right? And so how can we ingress and egress without having to pull my badge out and go through and things of that nature? This capability as it relates to buildings is even more acute today as a result of COVID in the world that we live in and are contemplating returning to work. There's all kinds of declarations and pre-screening and things of that nature that need to occur for us to be able to walk back into buildings or onto facilities. And Sine helps us with all of that, ensuring that we're able to come back and proclaim our health and get on site effectively and safely and manage that process really, really elegantly. So there's an application there that is really central to the thinking as it relates to Sine. But that's not all that Sine does. Sine is first and foremost a mobile platform built from the ground up to be a mobile platform. They provide capabilities around occupant experience, but they also provide capabilities around supply chain and worker compliance. And so that's going to be another area around workers that we start to look towards digitizing worker activity so that I can understand their performance across the enterprise. A bit of a stat for you, Pat. The cost of running an industrial operation, 50 to 70% of that cost it comes from labor, right? And so if I can digitize that worker and understand that worker's influence on the operation, I can look for ways to improve and optimize that over time as well. So that's kind of number 2. But number 3 is the thing I'm most excited about. And it goes back to the vision that we talked about a few minutes ago, which is run your operation from a coffee shop. We are using the infrastructure that Sine has built to deliver Honeywell Forge as a mobile-first solution. So think about that. Conventional wisdom, as I described it earlier, is in order to run a building or a plant or a warehouse, I go to a central place in the facility, and I'm looking at a number of monitors or perhaps a big control room, and I sit there and just watch.
Right.
The actual way individuals get work done on that facility is very mobile, right, today. Well, we need to meet our users where they are, and we need to give them the information that they need at the point in time with which they need it, and the way to do that is through a mobile experience. And guess what? That probably starts when they wake up in the morning. right? Hi, David, you've got 3 things on your agenda that you need to deal with today before you get to the office. That kind of mobile experience is where we want to take the industrial world to really transform the way they do work and actually achieve that vision of run your facility from a coffee shop.
I feel like you're pulling a very brownfield brownfield industry into the future here. The ability, first of all, it's hard enough to do things digitally because it's an analog world, and the industrial side has been operating since the Industrial Revolution. I sometimes am reminded of the complexity and the history of it. My company actually went in and cited I think there were 287 different analog ways to get information out of a brownfield environment,
right.
Industrial environment. It is pretty spectacular. So let's get a little bit personal now. Okay, I'd like to shift to that. So you're actually a seasoned CX executive, enterprise CRM. You helped launch Fusion at Oracle, which I'll be honest with you, was Fusion was the thing that brought me over to be very complimentary of the company, and it's exploding right now. What elements would you say play a role in your current position that maybe you learned or your experience from working at Oracle to where you're bringing into the future at Honeywell with Forge and EPM?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. There's a lot of overlap and a lot of lessons learned there. I think first and foremost, back in the early days of Fusion, when I got involved with it, they were literally just kind of bringing it out from under the R&D rock and looking to really start the commercialization process. And we put in place early on a process whereby I went out and recruited early adopters to come in and really kind of get involved and help us finish the product off. This is something that since the days of Oracle, I've used as a part of every job I've had, every business I've started, is identifying the early adopters that have that shared vision for where you want to go and are willing to invest the time, effort, and resources in making it real. That's a part of the critical success we had there, and it is very deeply ingrained in my DNA today. So that's kind of point number one. Point number two was something that I was able to be a part of at an enterprise scale at Oracle, and it is this concept of extensibility. Yeah. When Oracle and the large enterprise software players think about a product, they're thinking about a level of scale that is different than most organizations, and quite frankly is different than most of the way the operations in industrial world thinks about software today. They think about a common set of code that is able to be used in a variety of different verticals, right? And the way you build that common set of code to get the leverage that's needed is you make it extensible so that you can describe through simple extensions the way that pharmaceuticals is different from higher education, right? Because there's a lot of nomenclature and KPIs and things that are different between those two in verticals, but doesn't mean that the core capability is necessarily different. That level of design and architecture and requirement is clearly something that we brought forward from the days of Oracle. And not only did we know the concepts needed to be ported over, but quite frankly, we actually got some of the same team to come help us build it here so that we could do it the right way. We could really treat it as the core capability for our enterprise performance management solutions. So that level of architecture and design is critical to what we're doing today. There's a last piece of it that also is incredibly relevant, and that is the commercialization process, right? At Oracle, we had thousands of sales team members. We had hundreds of partners that need to be educated and onboarded and trained. And here at Honeywell, we've got the same, right? We've got thousands of salespeople, lots of partners, lots of new partners that are coming to the table, and they're all looking to get educated. And how can I embrace this new direction that you're going? All of those realities from my past are 100% directly applicable to the things we're doing here in Honeywell today.
Yeah, and it's funny. I've been seeing the tech side try to get more industrial. I've seen the industrial side get more high tech. I haven't seen a lot of success on the high tech trying to get more industrial. And I think we've reached a point right now, after about a decade of people banging their heads, against the keyboard, that the two worlds have to combine. And I really like this notion that Honeywell has brought in a bunch of folks from high tech who've had success in high tech. It gives me a reason to believe that this round will be have higher degree of success, because it's classic, right? OT meets IT, right? And I'm thinking that this go around will have a higher degree of success. I can just see it. I mean, it was hard for me even to take a briefing sometimes from an industrial company. We were speaking a very different language.
Yep.
I tried my best to learn the language of OT, probably like you did after a couple years at Honeywell. But no, this is really good stuff. David, I want to thank you for coming on, but I'm going to give you the last word here. Is there something that maybe I should have asked you that I didn't ask you, or a final word to the More Insights and Strategy audience?
Yeah, I think I'll just append some of the thoughts and ideas there in the final comment, Pat. The reason I think we're finding success is because we are absolutely embracing our heritage, but adding an enterprise and digital lens to it. Honeywell has been known for 100 years as a control systems company. That control plane is what we do, what we've built our heritage based on. It's the reason that the high-tech companies struggle when they come into our space, because it's just a very, very different world. But when you add, to your point, the ability to take that control plane capability and digitize that and bring it to a new kind of SaaS-based architecture, you kind of have the best of both worlds. And our customers, that's what they want from us. They want us, because we've been in the control systems business for decades. They want us to be the ones to deliver this solution going forward. So we found that we've got a lot of early adopters that want to help us over that hurdle. And that's the thing that I think really makes this sticky and unique and very likely to be very successful going forward, is the combination of those items.
Well, and also, and again, I'll surprise you with your own slide here. You're also not trying to do the whole thing yourself,
right?
You've got other people who can also make money in your stack. It's not just you creating everything.
Right. No, it's an important reality that we have to embrace. We can't do it all. We can do some things very, very well, and we intend on continuing to do those things very, very well. But our customers are innovative as well, and they're always looking for new best-of-breed ways to improve their operation. But what they want is a single system of record, right?
Yeah.
And so if we can provide a mechanism that provides the single system of record, but allows them to integrate their innovative solutions accordingly, it's the best of all worlds. We actually really are solving our customers' problems at that point in a way that they've not been able to do thus far.
Good. Well, David, I keep saying we're at time, and then I keep flashing slides and asking you questions, but we really are at time. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on. It's exciting stuff, and if you've made it in the the tech of, and more importantly, the results of EPM a lot more understandable in the world. And I do like that you're not trying to do everything for everybody. You're leveraging partners. I actually did moderated the SAP panel in your big announcement a few months back. You're letting the specialists do what they do best, and I think you're doing what Honeywell does best as well.
Yep, indeed. Well, that's the goal, and we're trying to translate it to make it simple for the executive consumer buyer that we're trying to reach, right? If he can't understand it, then we've got no progress going forward. So that is the goal. So I'm glad it comes across.
Absolutely. So I'm going to end it here. Thank you, David. And this is Pat Moorhead with More Insights and Strategy. If you liked what you heard, press that subscribe button. And if I don't talk to you again, have a great and safe holidays.